Good morning. Welcome to Morning Minyan. Happy 4th of July. We're live and online. Page 6. We rise for Birchot HaShachar. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan l'sechivina lavchin ben yom uvein laila. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shesani b'tzamo. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shesani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shesani ben chorin. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokeach ivrim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam al bisharomim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zokef kefufim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam roka haaretz al hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shesali kol tzorki. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamichim mitzadei gaver. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ozeisa b'gvura. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam oter Yisrael b'tifara. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hanotein la'ya'ef koach. Baruch atah mechol. Uteneinu ayam v'chol yom l'cheinu chesel rachamim be'einecha u've'einei koreinu v'tik malenu chasadim tovim. Baruch atah Adonai gomel chasadim tovim le'amo Yisrael. Page 7. Hiratz amefenecha n'Elohai v'lahei avotahai shetzilenu. Ashreinu matov chelkeinu manayin goraleinu mayafa yerushateinu. Ashreinu shenachnu mashkimim uma'arivim ervo kevromim hamayim b'chol yom shema Yisrael Eloheinu Adonai echad. That one. Kadesh et shimcha makdishei shemecha vekadesh shimcha be'olamecha uvishuatcha tarim tag b'yakareneinu baruch atah Adonai mekadesh et shimcha barabim atah one. Rabbinic text, page 9 through 12. Yehi ratzon milfanecha Adonai Eloheinu le'avoteinu shetitein cholkeinu b'toratecha v'niyami talmidav shel Aharon hakohen ohev shalom v'odev shalom ohev et abriorum karvan la'Torah. Kaddish d'Rabbanan, page 13. Ikadal v'ikadash shemei Rabbah v'yalmad yivra kilutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayichon v'yomechon uv'chayedecho beit Yisrael v'agalav yisman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam le'olamei alamaya. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei v'yidadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudesha barichu. Le'ila min kol berchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata adam yiram be'alma v'imru amen. Al Yisrael v'Rabbanan ve'al tamidehon ve'al kol tamidehon ve'al kol man de'askin b'oraita divad v'rah hadein v'di v'chol atar v'atar. Yehei lahon ochon shlama rabba, china v'chista v'rachamim, v'chayin arichin mezonar v'cha, ufarkanam min kol damo hunda v'ishmaya v'meru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim tovim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'meru amen. Oseh shalom b'romav, hu b'rachamav yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'meru amen. Mizmor shir chanukah tabai l'David aromim chadai. הפכת מספרי למחולי, פיתחת סיכי ותזרני שמחה, למען יזמרך ולא ידום אדוני אלוהי לעולם עודך. Hadishatom, page 15. Yikadal v'ikadash shemei rabah, ve'alma divra kirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayichon v'yomechon v'chayidechol beit Yisrael, v'galav v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabah mevarach le'olam olamei alamaya. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yitpo'ar v'yitman v'yitnasei, v'yidadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei kudashah b'richu. Le'elam mikol birchata v'shirata, Tus bechata v'nechamata, da amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al ko Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom miromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al ko Yisrael v'imru amen. We rise, page 16, the beginning of Pesukei Zimra, Baruch She'amar. Baruch She'amar v'ayah ha'olam, Baruch Hu, Baruch Hu. Baruch atal macholam. Yachid chay haolamim melech meshibach umefoar adei ad shemo hagadol baruch atah Adonai melech me'olam batishbachot. Hodu l'Adonai kiruv yishma hodiyu amen. He ko Eloi ha'amim elohim v'Adonai shemayim asa hod v'adav. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'yishtachavu lahar kodsho ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu v'hu rachom mechaper Moshe v'no b'asher prabhu. Adonai tzvot ashrei adam boteach bach anashmech li'aneinu v'yom koreinu Hoshia temecha v'recha nechalatecha Ornei menasei mad ha'olam nafsheinu ki chatah Adonai Ezreinu mageinu. Va'ani v'chastecha v'tachti ahagili b'shuatecha shir l'Adonai ki gamal alai. Please rise, page 20. Mizmor l'todah hariu l'Adonai kol ha'aretz. Itov Nailam Chastova Dovador Munato, Ihi Chavod Nailam is Machara Bemasa. Behu Rachum Yakaper Vomuleshchit, Vihir Bala Shiva Povolo, Yair Kochamato, Adonai Shemelchanenu, Yom Koreinu. Page 21. Ashrei Shevetecho Julu Chasela, Ashrei Am Shekachalo, Ashrei Am Shadonai Elohav Tila L'David. Hilat naira verpi varek basar shingot sholeolam vaed va'anachnu nevarech ya me'atave adolam hallelujah 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 nafshi et Adonai hallelujah. Adonai shomer kirim yatom Adonai your David derech Hashem yaveh tim lochanai leolam Elohai ksiyon ledavador hallelujah hallelujah ki tov zamar Eloheinu ki na'im navatehi la bonero shalom Adonai v'yisrael. Magi devarav Yaakov hu kav mishatav Yisrael lo asachen lechogoy shvim bo yiraum. Hallelujah. 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 Denai min hashemayim. Hallelujah. Bam romihim. Hallelujah. Kum lawal. Vayaren ken lemoti lalachu hasidav libnei selam karovo. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Shilonai shir chadash. Shilatobi chazim. L'sor mochihem zikim v'niklehem echavle varzel. La'asopa hamishpat katuv adar hulu chasidav. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Lua bakodsho. Aluhu birki auzo. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, v'tziltzilei shama. Hallelujah, hallelujah, v'tziltzilei shua. Kol anshama te'aleya. Hallelujah, hallelujah, kol anshama te'aleya. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Baruch Adonai Elohim amen v'amen. Baruch Adonai Elohim Elohei Yisrael osei niflo levado. Baruch Shem kavodo leolam v'yimalei kavodo kol haaretz amen v'amen. Please rise, page 26. Vayvarech David Adonai lenei kol hakahal v'yomer David. Tahu Adonai Elohim asher bacharta b'Avram v'yotzei Torah me'or kasdim v'samta shemo Avraham atzata et levavo ne'eman lefanecha v'charot imo habri l'teira. V'hayam bakakta lifnehem v'yavru b'toch hayam v'yavasha v'etroveihem yishlach tarim solo kamo evem b'mayim azim v'yosh Adonai v'yom Vayar Yisrael et ayat hagadola asher asad Adonai b'Mitzrayim vayiruam et Adonai vayaminu b'Adonai Moshe avdo asher shir Moshe v'nei Yisrael et asher azol. Mikdash Adonai kunu yadecha Adonai imloch leolam va'ed Adonai imloch leolam va'ed Kil Adonai hamlocha Moshe b'goyim v'alu Moshe v'hartzion l'shpeh ha'reisa v'aytal Adonai hamlocha v'yad Adonai l'melech al kol ha'aretz v'yom ahu Adonai echad u'shemo echad. Daniel continues us, page 29, with the Shacharit service.
Yishtabach Shimcha La'ad Malkeinu. Berachot v'hodot me'ata ve'ad olam baruch ata Adonai el melech adova tishbachot el hahodaot Adonai niflot habocher b'shirei zimra melech el chei ha'olamim. Yikadav yikadash shmei rabba ba'alma divra kiratei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon v'yamechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael ba'agalav izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mavarach le'olam omei omaya. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitramah v'yitnasei v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalash medikuchot b'rechu le'elam min kol berachata v'shirata tishbachata v'nechamata. Damiram be'amav imru, amen. Baruch et Adonai habarach Baruch Adonai Hamborach Le'olam Va'ed. El Baruch. Sell deeper rocks. Kulam ahuvim, kulam berurim, kulam giborim, vechulam osim be'emav yiraretz on konam, vechulam putchim et behem b'ktushav tahara b'shirav zimra, uvarchim u'shabchim u'farim, umaritzim u'maktishim, umamlichim et shem. Vechulam mekableim alehem ol malchut shamayim ze mizeh v'nonim reshut ze lazeh lahakdish liyotzram benachat ruach b'safav urav v'nimah kedosha kulam keachad onim v'yomrim be'yira kadosh 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 Adonai tzvaot meloch ha'aretz kivodo v'ofanim v'chayat hakodesh barash kadom minasim lumat serafim lumatam meshabchim v'yomrim Baruch kavod Adonai mim komo lel baruch Or chadash el Tzion ta'ir v'nizkechu lanu mehera le'oro Baruch atah Adonai yotzer ha'me'orot ahava rabbav Adonai. V'havienu l'shalom erba kamfot haaretz v'tolechenu k'myut l'eretzenu ki yopel yeshua atah uvana v'acharta mikol am v'lashon v'keraftanu l'shimcha hagadol sela be'emet l'hodot l'cha yachercha be'ahava Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'amo Yisrael be'ahava Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha B'chol levavcha U'b'chol nafshecha U'b'chol me'odecha Ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele Asher anochi mitzavcha Hayom al levavecha, v'shinantam levanecha, v'dibar tabam, v'shivtecha v'vetecha, uvlechtecha v'derech, uvshapecha uvekumecha, ukshartam liot ayadecha, v'hayulatotafo b'eninecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uv'isharecha, v'haya im shamot. Adonai Elohechem Emet. L'dor v'dor hu kayam u'shmo kayam v'chison achon u'machoto v'emanoto leyad kayamet. Emet shetahu Adonai Eloheinu v'Elahei Avotenu Malkeinu Melech Avotenu Go'aleinu Go'el Avotenu Yitzreinu Tzur Yeshuatenu Bodenu Matzilenu Me'olam Shemecha Ein Elohim Zu Latecha It's right Avotenu Tilot lela yom baruch hu umvorach Moshe v'nei Yisrael l'chanu shira v'simcha rabba v'yamru chulam Micha mocha belim Adonai Micha mocha nedabra kodesh Norati lao sefele Shira chadasha shibchu ge'ulim l'shimcha al svat hayam Yachad kulam hoduvim lichu v'yamru Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed Sur Yisrael kuma be'ezrat Yisrael Uvdechin umecha Yehuda ve'Yisrael Go aleinu Adonai tzavot shemo Kedosh Yisrael Baruch Ata Adonai Gaal Yisrael. The Silent Amidah, page 36. The repetition of the Amidah, page 36b. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elokei Avotenu Elokei Avraham Elokei Yitzchak v'Elokei Yaakov Elokei Sarah Elokei Rivka Elokei Rachel v'Elokei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibur v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim v'Kanal Kol v'Zocher Chazdei Avot U'Mevi Goel Linei V'Nehem L'man Shmo Be'ahava Melech Ozer Ufoked U'Moshiach U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Ufoked Sarah Ata gibor le'olam Adonai mechayim itim ata Rav lehoshia morid hatal mechakel chayim b'chesed mechayim itim barachamim rabim somech noflim v'rofel cholim u'matir asurim umkayem emunato l'shinei afar milcha mocha bal gvorot umido melach melech me'imidum chayei u'matzmiach Yeshua v'neman ata l'chayim itim baruch ata Adonai mechayei ha'meitim. Nekadesh et shimcha ba'olam kishem shemakdishim oto b'shmei marom kakatuv ayad neviyacha v'karazeh el zeh v'yamar kadosh 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 Adonai tzvaot melech ha'aretz kivodo l'umatam baruch yomeru baruch kivod Adonai mimkomo Udivrei kochka katuv lemor Yimloch Adonai le'olam elahik Tzion l'dor v'dor Hallelujah. L'dor v'dor nagi gadlecha netzach nitzachim kedusharcha nakdish v'shivchacha Eloheinu mipinu le'yamush l'olam v'ed Ki el melech gadol v'kadosh ata baruch ata Adonai ha'el hakadosh Ata chonen l'adam dat umlamed l'anosh bina chanena mitcha de'abina v'haskel baruch ata Adonai Chonen hadat, hashivenu avinu l'tortecha v'karvenu makenu la'avodatecha v'hachazirenu b'tshuvah shlema lefanecha baruch ata Adonai harotzeh b'tshuvah. Slach lanu avinu ki chatanu machal lanu makenu ki fashanu ki mochav v'solech ata baruch ata Adonai chanun hamrabel lisloach reina v'enena v'rira rivenu galenu merelaman shmecha ki goach hazakata baruch ata Adonai Gael Yisrael. Refainu Adonai v'nerafeu she'enu v'nevasheh kitya l'tenu ata v'le rufa shlema l'chol makotenu ki amach rofa neman v'rachaman ata baruch ata Adonai rofa chalei amo Yisrael baruch aleinu Adonai aleinu et hashana zev v'chomenei tfuato l'tova v'tem bracha p'nei ha'adama v'sabenu mitova uvarech shnatenu kashanim atavo baruch ata Adonai mevarech hashanim Tikha b'shavar gadol l'chai r'teinu v'san nes l'chabetz gulu r'teinu v'kapsinu yachad me'erba kavod haaretz baruch ata Adonai mekabetz nitchai amo Yisrael Hashiva shavteinu kavrushon haviyotzenu kavad chila v'aseh mimenu yigon v'anacha umloch aleinu ata Adonai l'vadcha b'chesed v'rachamim v'tzedkenu b'mishpat baruch ata Adonai melech ohev tzedakah u'mishpat V'lamal shinim al tikva v'chol rishak karega teved v'chol v'cha me'erai karetu v'zedim me'erata keret shaber mager v'tachnim b'me'era v'yamenu baruch ata Adonai shover oivim u'machnia zedim Ala tzadikim v'ala chasidim v'al zitneim chabei Yisrael v'aplei tetzafrem v'garei hatzedek v'aleinu yamun ha'rachamecha Adonai aleinu v'ten zachar tov l'chol ha'bodchim b'shimcha be'emet v'simcha keinu imahem u'olam lo nevosh ki v'cha b'tachnu baruch ata Adonai Mishan u'miftach l'tzadikim v'l'Yerushalayim ercha barachamim tashuv v'tishkam b'tocha kasher dibarta v'nei ata b'karo b'yamenu binyan olam v'chised David me'era l'tocha tachim baruch ata Adonai B'nei Yerushalayim Etzamach David avtecha me'era tetzmei v'karnat harum b'shuatecha ki l'shuatcha ki kivinu kol hayom baruch ata Adonai matzmiach keren Yeshua Shma koleinu Adonai aleinu kus v'rachem aleinu v'kabel b'rachamim v'tzonet tfilatenu ki el shemet tfilot v'tachonim ata v'melfanecha makenu reikama teshivenu ki ata shemet tfilat amcha Yisrael b'rachamim baruch ata Adonai shomea tefila Re'etzei Adonai Eloheinu be'amcha Yisrael uvi tfilatam v'shev et ha'avodah lidrer beitecha u'tfilatam be'ahava tekabel b'ratzon nitila ratzon tamid avodah Yisrael amecha V'techazen ha'inenu b'shuvcha l'tzion b'rachamim baruch ata Adonai ha'machazir shechinato l'tzion modim anachnu lach she'ata hu Adonai Eloheinu v'elahei avotenu l'olam v'ed Tzorchayinam again Yishena Tahula Dorvador Nadelachan Sabratil Tacha Alchayinam Tsurim Biadacha Vianish Botena Habakadot Lach Vianish Secha Shibacho Yomimani Imanu Viani Flotecha Vitovatecha Shibacho Et Erev Avoker Vitzaharayim Hatov Kilo Chalu Rachamecha Vram Rachem Kilo Tamucha Sadecha Melam Kivinu Lach V'yal kulam yiprafi ramam shikha makena tamed l'olam v'ed v'chol ha'chaim yiducha sela v'halu ha'shimcha be'emet ha'el yeshuatenu v'ezratenu sela baruch ata Adonai hatov shimcha ha'chan na'el lahodot Eloheinu v'elahei avatenu baruchenu b'avracham shelesh shabbat torah k'tuva yidei Moshe avdecha amorah mipi Aharon uvanav kohanim am kidoshecha ka'amor Yavarecha Adonai v'yishmerecha Yair Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yisem shalom Sim shalom ba'olam tov avrachachem v'chesed v'rachamim aleinu v'akol Yisrael Amecha bracheinu avinu kolanu ke'achad b'or panecha Kibor panecha natata lanu Adonai Eloheinu Torat chayim v'avat chesed Utzlaka v'racha v'rachamim v'chayim v'shalom v'tov b'necha levarech Adamcha Yisrael b'chol et Uvchol shabi shalmecha baruch atah Adonai havarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. So no tachanun today, right? For Independence Day, which takes us to page 47, Chatzi Kaddish. Yikadav v'kadash shemei rabbah ba'alma divra kirtei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon v'yamechon v'chayedecho beit Yisrael Bagalav Isman Karev Imru, Amen. Yehesh me Rabba Mavarach Lelamo Me'amaya. Yiparach Vishtabach Viparvi Romavi Nasei Vida David Alevid Alashmid Gudsha. Richu Leilam Miko Berchata Vishirata Tishbachata V'nechamata. Damiram Be'alma Vimru, Amen. Ashrei, page 78. Ashrei Ashrei Vetecha Od Yalucha Sela Ashrei Tehilat Adonai Yedaber Pivi V'Rek Basar Shem Kodsho Le'olam Va'ed Va'anachnu Navarech Ya Me'ata V'Adolam Hallelujah Uval It's Yonga which way? Kadosh 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 Adonai come on. Adonai local alum. V'yivtechu b'chayirei shemecha ki lo azavta dorshecha Adonai Adonai chafetz l'man tzidko yadir Torah v'yadir Yikadav yikadash shemei rabbah ba'alma divra kiratei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon v'yamechon v'chayedecho beit Yisrael b'agalav izman karev imru Amen Yehei shmei rabbah mavarach l'olamo me'amaya Yiparach v'shavach v'parvi ramami nasei v'david alevid alashmin kudsha b'rechu leilam mikol berachata v'shirata tishbechata v'nechamata damiram be'alma v'imru Amen tikabel tzlotanu v'atan d'chol Yisrael kadamo v'hondi v'shmaya v'imru Amen Yehei shalom harabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael b'mru. Amen. Aleinu, page 83. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latei gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kugoye haratzot, velo samanu kemishbechot hadama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam. Vanachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu shehu teshamayim. Okay. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yiyeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. Mourner's Kaddish, page 84. Yikadal v'ikadash shemei rabbah, ve'alma divra kiratei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yamechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mavarach le'olam omei omayah. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh, v'yiradar v'yidaleh v'yidaleh shmei d'kudsha, b'rechu, le'ila min kol berchata v'shirata, tishbachata v'nechamata, Damiram be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'imrumav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. The Psalm for Sunday, page 85. Hayom yom rishon b'shabbat shebo hayu havim hamidus l'davi mizmor l'nei. Mi hu zeh melech hakavod, Adonai's vote, hu melech hakavod, Selah. Kiddush Yatom, page 100. Yikadav v'ikadash shemei rabbah, ba'alma divra kiratei v'yamlech malchutei, b'chayechon v'yamechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, b'gala v'zman kariv imru, amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mavarach le'olam omei omayah. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh v'yidadar v'yidaleh v'yidaleh shmei d'kudsha, b'rechu, le'ila mikol berchata v'shirata tishbechata v'nechamata, Damiram be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'imrumav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen.
Amen. Yasher koach, Daniel. We're going to wait just a moment while Daniel gets set. Please be seated. You may be seated if you wish. Today is July 4th, and approximately 270 years ago, a group of men met in Philadelphia to write a declaration of independence, of separation from Great Britain. This is a document that was intended to be recited out loud. The act of hearing is different than the act of reading, and while we study sacred documents, we also chant them. And I believe the same is true for important political documents as well. So this morning I will be chanting the Declaration of Independence, the full version as promised from yesterday, to the Haftarah trope. Melodies are often used in various different cultures as a mnemonic device to help remember the text. The Declaration of Independence has a prologue, which is often not read, and I'd like to do so now. I'd also like you to think of what price these men paid.
Most of them ended penniless, in many cases captured by the British, tortured and killed, losing all of their possessions and family. This was a price they knew they had to pay. Freedom isn't free. Today, it wasn't then, and it isn't today. Gentlemen, although it is not possible to foresee the consequences of human actions, yet it is nonetheless a duty we owe ourselves and posterity in all our public councils to decide in the best manner we are able, and to trust the event to that being who governs both causes and events, so as to bring about his own determinations. Impressed with this sentiment, and at the same time fully convinced that our affairs will take a more favorable turn, the Congress have judged it necessary to dissolve all connection between Great Britain and the American colonies, and to declare them free and independent states, as you will perceive by the enclosed declaration, which I am directed to transmit to you. The unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having indirect object an establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. He has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate pressing importance, unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained. And when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people, unless those people would relinquish the right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records, for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly, for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people. He has refused for a long time, after such disillusions, to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers, incapable of annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise, a state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without and convulsions within. He endeavored to prevent the population of these states, for that purpose obstructing the laws of naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migration hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations of lands. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws, and for establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. He has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislature. He has affected to render the military independent of and superior to civil power. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by mock trial from punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states, for cutting off trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses, for abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule in these colonies, for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our governments, for suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coast, burned our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He has at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny already begun, with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in most barbarous ages, totally unworthy of the head of a civilized nation. He has constrained our fellow citizens taken captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country and to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. He has excited domestic insurrections amongst us, and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers the merciless Indian savages, whose known rule of warfare is undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. Nor have we been wanting in attention to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by the legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our emigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity. We have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and consanguinity. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation, and hold them as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace friends. We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress, assembled appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
Just before we end the stream, a reminder that we do have morning minyan tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. So if you can make it, thank you very much, and thank you for coming. Happy 4th of July. Enjoy your week. Enjoy your day. Stay safe. And yeah.